Trail knows the way. Please help us welcome Audra!
3 years ago this summer, my husband and I decided we would go hike a few portions of the Colorado Trail. We had no idea what we'd encounter or even how far we would get, but our bags were packed of food and gear. We had time off work, and my kids were safely in the hands of family members, so here we go. It would be an adventure. No itinerary, just a map and a direction. He was excited to trade traffic for trees. I was excited too, a little nervous. Would we have enough food and water to make it as far as we would go? Would my plantar fasciitis act up? Let's be honest, would we be eaten by bears? I don't know. But all of that faded when we got out there on the trail. No phones, no makeup, just the sounds of nature and the freedom of putting one foot in front of the other. There was healing in those trees. I could feel it. I love how you meet people all along the way out there on the trail. It's like one big family. You swap stories and supplies. We met Mary, who is taking a 6-week sabbatical from a 20-year nursing career. Lots of college-age guys out on adventures. We met a couple who had met on the trail, and this was their first time hiking together as a married couple. I heard rumors that Mountain Man was on our trail. This is a guy who lives on trail year-round. And the most unlikely trio, Cayenne, Tagalong, and Timber. These three never would have been friends in their everyday life, but once a year they met together and hiked. We swapped stories. We learned from them that when you're a true hiker, you earn yourself a trail name. A few days in, we entered the Burn Scar. This is a long stretch of mountain with absolutely no trees because there was a wildfire decades ago that burned everything. We were hiking along, the sun was beating down, the clouds disappeared, and my husband was starting to struggle. He was already having trouble keeping water down the day before, but now his energy was fading. He was losing steam, and I was getting scared. How am I gonna get me, my pack, him, his pack, off this mountain? So we found the one tree in this whole stretch for him to sit and rest for a while. And I decided, okay, I'm gonna hike on ahead a few miles. There's a fire station up ahead. It has a spigot. I hear you can get cold water and refill your canteens. I guess that's gonna have to do. So I set out, said a little prayer. And as I'm walking along, I turn a corner and there it is, staked in the ground, trail magic. It was like a mirage. I didn't know if this actually existed. But there it was. I turned the corner, 2 folding chairs, a tent, and Kent and Meg, a couple who had driven 2.5 hours just to sit there and hand out snacks and cold beverages to weary hikers. Kent did not hesitate when he found out my husband was back on trail struggling. He grabbed a cold Gatorade and off he went. Later, I find out my husband had just said a prayer, God, a cold Gatorade would be amazing right now. And bam, there it was, delivered by a stranger who became a friend. Ken and Meg took us to a little town called Bailey, and what started out as a pause became a retreat. He rested for a day, on his birthday no less, and I grabbed a book from the cabin and sat by a river and read stories of this Glen Isle Lodge that we were staying at, and the decades of families that poured their livelihood into keeping this place alive. I laughed and cried with them as they told their stories. Every need that we had, from rides to water, food, clean clothes, kindness, was met by strangers. Trail angels everywhere. The next day we decided to go back out on trail, so Janet, our new friend, gave us a ride to the trailhead, and she took the scenic route. She taught us about my favorite part of this trip, sacred Native American trees. Have you ever seen a tree that has just the weirdest shape? The Ute tribe would go and take thick ropes and tie these trees, and over the course of generations, shape them with intention. They would point to the trail, they would point to water sources, or they were sacred burial sites. My favorite is that they believe that your prayers live in the leaves of the tree, and when the wind blows, it takes them to the Creator. To this day, every time I see a uniquely shaped tree, I wonder, does it have sacred roots? And what prayer is it carrying? After about a day, we did decide to come off the trail for good. Altitude sickness is persistent. We hitchhiked in the back of a random truck, and then found out there's all these unofficial Uber drivers all over Colorado picking up stragglers like us. Richard took us to a Denver car rental place. We screeched in right before they closed, with my boots off, my bare feet on the dash, and a paper map in hand. Where do we go? We twisted and turned, drove over mountains, took the scenic route, and ended up in Breckenridge. We get out, walk into a cozy little restaurant, and there they are, sitting at the bar. Cayenne, Timber, and Tagalong, our three friends. We hugged like old friends, exchanged stories, we rode a mountain coaster with them. This was beyond a coincidence. This was a God wink, synchronicity. We didn't end up with the trail that we had anticipated, but we learned something valuable that day. When you hold your plans with open hands, you experience the best parts of life. They're the parts you can't plan for. They're the ones you just receive.
Wonderful. Thank you, Audra. Madam Timer, did everybody complete their speech in time?